Today we're optimizing Death Stranding 2 on the beach. We got FSR4.0.2 that now works on RDNA2 without modding your drivers, plus OptiScaler giving us access to DLSS-quality inputs and frame generation. 2 paths, 1 seriously upgraded experience. And the best part, the OptiScaler team made the new FSR4 binary completely standalone. No driver tampering, no compatibility nightmares, just drop it in and go. So let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to GeekJ, where we make tech, tutorials and gaming simpler and better. First things first, I'll show you how to get FSR4 working with just a standalone binary, literally a copy-paste job. That's it. And then for those of you who want the absolute best experience, we'll set up the full OptiScaler stack with DLSS inputs and frame generation. But before any of that, let's fire up the game vanilla and see what we're working with. First of all, let's go into the settings. As you can see, these are the default settings we're getting. This game ships with PICO, FSR, and XeSS Upscalers out of the box. So I'm running my usual setup here, which is Ryzen 7 5800X 3D and an RX 6800XT. And you can check the description below for the full specs of the system I am using. And basically, as I'm gonna show you in a little while when we go into the game settings themselves, I've cranked everything up to the highest possible graphical settings for the most part, because once you choose the highest preset, some of the ray tracing stuff are not cranked up to the max, and I've kept it that way basically. So let me show you around these basic settings over here, and then we're gonna see what PICO gives us. So I'm gonna leave it at PICO over here. I don't think we need this sharpness thingy, and I'm gonna turn off the dynamic resolution, and I'm gonna go with native AA and 0 sharpness to begin with. I'm gonna leave VSync on, and everything else I'm gonna leave as is over here in the base menu, and then I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna connect my controller. Running the game, I'm gonna go with very high, which is basically the highest setting. And what we are going to do, as you can see over here, ambient occlusion is on very high, but we can go with a ray tracing ambient occlusion. Then for reflections, we can go with a ray tracing high instead of the other settings. And the other thing I like to disable, obviously, is motion blur. And that's pretty much it, I guess. So let's see what we get with these settings. So yeah, remember that even at the max settings, the game defaults to sharpness of 5 for some reason, which kind of looks horrible in my opinion. It adds more of that halo around the character, especially around the hair strands and stuff, so I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But anyway, yeah, if you're running native AA, I would suggest you leave it at 0, and then on quality, I'd just crank it up a little bit to 1 or 2. We're gonna test it out later. So yeah. Now that we are on performance mode, you can see like the effect on the detail over here with PICO on performance, which is the lowest setting we can get, and it is at about 76, 72 FPS at this specific location. We're still on PICO performance with sharpness on 5, and yeah, it looks kind of rough. Like for the textures that are close by, it looks okay. It's very, very soft, even though we have sharpness at 5, but it doesn't look too bad. Like it's still playable, but yeah, it's like the performance uplift is not there. So if we go back to options and we just go with, let's say, performance, and then we go with a sharpness of 1. Let's see what is going to be the performance loss we're getting. it's not even there with PICO. It's not even there. So the image quality is a lot better. It's not that stable. Like when I move the camera, you can see the pixelation on the mountains in the distance, hopefully because of the you know YouTube compression. But other than that, it looks a lot better. The hair still have that weirdness, but everything else looks a lot better, and the performance is kind of the same, like 66, 69 FPS, nice. So yeah, if we go back to performance and then we up the sharpness and then we apply this, as you can see, it's like 73, so we got 71, 73, yeah, we got like from 2 to 4 FPS, like that's it on performance mode, and it looks way worse. Like the detail in the character faces is gone, looks like a PlayStation 3 game or something, and not even that, PlayStation 2 maybe, and then the pixelation in the hair is like very unfortunately immersion breaking. It looks pretty bad. But yeah, close by textures look fine, I guess, but like that tree over there, or a cacti or whatever that is, it's like a bunch of pixels. I don't know if that's even going to be visible to you guys. Anyway, let's go on ahead and test FSR. We're going to go with a native AA to begin with, and sharpness of 0. We're going to apply this. As you can see, we are again at the high 50s. We're almost hitting 60 over here, which is normal. So if we directly compare this to the PICO in this specific place with native AA and sharpness of 0, you will see we get kind of identical performance on native AA. The hair looks a little worse on PICO, and the performance is a little lower. And if we go back to the FSR 3.1.5, you're gonna see we're getting better image quality, in my opinion at least, and a little bit of an uplift in performance. Let's see. The hair looks a little bit better, especially on movement. And yeah, the FPS is a tiny bit higher. Like we can hit like 55, 56, while I think with the PICO we were hitting a maximum of 54. So let's go on ahead and see how this looks on quality with sharpness of 1, and what is the performance gain when we're using FSR 3.1.5. We see a pretty decent uplift over here. We're getting above 60 FPS, and if we look at the character, we do see a lot of pixelation at the hair, even on quality, but the performance remains stable and the image looks pretty cool. So again, let's switch directly to PICO, and that's going to be our only change over here to see an apples to apples comparison. The pixelation is not immediately there with PICO. We get a bit of a higher performance uplift. No, we don't. Lower performance uplift. Okay. The pixelation is not that bad, but when we move, it's worse than FSR. So yeah, static image is a little bit better with PICO, but when I move the camera, it's a lot worse with PICO. And that's not only about the hair. You can look at the overall picture when I move the camera. So the pixel stability is just not there with PICO. And we get around 65 FPS. Let's go back to FSR 3.1.5. And I'm gonna apply this. Okay, we're getting around the same FPS over here. Picture stability is better. Picture stability is better. Okay, the static image maybe on FSR looks a little bit better, but it's way worse, I think, when we move the camera. That's not good. That's not good. So yeah, that's quality. Let's go on ahead and see how the game looks with... Let's go with ultra performance, which is the lowest setting, and a sharpness of 5. See how that looks and how it performs. I'm gonna leave it to stabilize over here. So we don't see a big performance uplift over here. This is ultra performance, FSR 3.1.5. Almost feels like it didn't really apply, but I am pretty sure it's there. Yep, it's there. So we do get some kind of performance uplift, like 2 to 5 FPS. The game textures look a lot worse, but it is doing a pretty decent job. When we start moving the camera, everything looks way blurrier. The character hair and the faces look bad, but they look a lot better than the PICO result on performance. Let me tell you that. Anyway, and last but not least, we have XeSS in this game. We're gonna go with native AA and 0 sharpness. Okay, let's try that again. 0 sharpness. Hello. For some reason, XeSS does not allow us to go lower than 5 sharpness. What's up with that? Okay, I'm gonna apply this. Okay, now it did allow us to go lower. It's kind of weird. Anyway, see how the game looks and performs with XeSS. The Upscaler part of XeSS is actually the latest version that the game ships with. But yeah, the first impressions I got for the FSR 3.1.5 is that the image quality, sharpness, and motion clarity, and maybe FPS compared to PICO at each preset, like native AA, quality, and then ultra performance and performance, they were kind of okay. But if I had to pick one of them, I'd definitely go with the FSR 3.1.5. It had better image stability, better image quality on all presets. Even ultra performance, I think, looked better than the PICO performance. XeSS is looking okay. This is 2.0.2, the latest Upscaler version. For some reason, this is native AA. We do get the performance hit, but it doesn't look that stable. It looks a little bit soft, and also we get pixelation around the hair. So I would put it at the same level as PICO native AA at this point, and FSR 3.1.5 looks better. This is kind of my first time seeing this and doing this comparison, because I want to have an honest opinion on this and not like, you know, watch a bunch of videos about these games that I review and stuff and do the optimization guides. So maybe you hear me say, this looks better or this looks worse, and then further into the video I might change my opinions, because this is kind of my first impression. Let me go into the options. We're gonna go with quality, and then we're gonna go with, okay, it doesn't really let us go below 5 for some reason. So if I go with FSR and then do apply, and then I do 1, and then I change this to XeSS, and then I hit apply, this is the only way I can make it accept sharpness below 5. Okay. that is not good. So when we're not moving the camera, I can still see some pixelation around the character's hair, but when we move the camera, that's the unfortunately worst result we've gotten so far. This is quality mode. Performance is kind of okay, 66, 65 FPS over here, but when I move the camera, the whole image is very unstable and very pixelated. And remember, we have no frame generation enabled over here. And finally, let's go on ahead and try ultra performance, and I'm gonna up this to 5. That's convenient. And let's see how this does. Okay. Image stability went out the window immediately. We're getting around 70 FPS, which is similar, but image quality is gone. We got a lot of pixelation, a lot of weirdness around the character, especially the head, but all around the character I can see a halo and pixelation and everything, so that's not good. So yeah, this is the default experience we're getting with this game. Unfortunately, not that good, and it is around 75 FPS on average over here on this specific scene. So yeah, let me quit out of the game and I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. So before we move on, let's also run DLSS-Swapper real quick to make sure our XeSS binaries are up to date, and it's always worth doing. And I'm probably gonna do the same for the DLSS binaries for this game. Okay, DLSS is not that old. I'm gonna update the binary anyway, or frame generation as well. I'm not gonna do anything in regards to FSR, but I am gonna check the XeSS binaries. As you can see, the XeSS Upscaler is on the latest version. Frame generation is not on the latest version. Let's update that. And then XeLL is not on the latest version. I'm going to update that as well. So we're going to close out of this one and exit out of DLSS-Swapper. So far, this is our baseline, 3 Upscalers, and then we got 3 different flavors, I guess. So let's see what FSR4 brings to the table. So this is the official Discord server of OptiScaler. Their developers are active here. Unfortunately, with all the controversy with Discord, it's kind of hard, but this is the only place they basically upload their latest versions for everything. And I'm gonna go over here into the announcements, and as you can see, there is this feedback forum, discuss here please, and there is a newer version, FSR 4.0.2c, and if we click on that and then we go here to the pinned messages, we can basically download the latest FSR Int 8 4.0.2c for RDNA2 version. This is exclusively for RDNA2, so if you're on RDNA 3, 4 or whatever comes in the future, do not use this version of FSR4. And here's where things get exciting. The OptiScaler team has done something incredible. They took the leaked FSR 4.0.2 int 8 and they have modded it. Works on RDNA2 without any driver modifications whatsoever, and this update brings some fixes as well. The C version, because the initial version was B, and after a few days it just released the C version. Let me say that again because it matters. No driver modding required. If you've been following my channel, you know the old method was a huge hassle. We had to grab files from a 2023 driver, the 23.9.1, and then tamper with our actual GPU drivers, and that broke some games. It triggered anti-cheat in others, and it meant we were missing out on AMD's latest optimization, especially for DirectX 12 stuff. It was an absolute nightmare, and the worst part was if we wanted to update our drivers, we had to mod each and every new driver with the same exact method. I want to give a massive shout out to the OptiScaler team for making this a reality. There's going to be a link in the description, where below for their Discord. and their GitHub, because sometimes they have to renew their Discord invite link, and on their GitHub they always share the latest link. So I'm gonna have a link for both of these below. So now that we've downloaded this modded latest version, I have it here open on the left side window, FSR int 8 4.0.2c with RDNA2 fix. Here is the beautiful part. To use this, we'll literally just need to, one, for me, back up your original Upscaler binary. And I always just add a .backup at the file name. So let me do that real quick. And now I have a backup of this file. And then if we open up the zipped file over here, we can just drag and drop it in here. So this is quick, easy, reversible. If anything goes sideways, you can just go back to the original FSR file. So we can launch our game again. And already in the launcher, we will be able to see FSR. Let me show you. Look at that, FSR 4.0.2c. We can see it over here. And we can go with native AA and 0 sharpness over here. Press OK. Play. Okay, exact same spot over here. The quality looks better. We don't get that shimmering on native AA with FSR 4.0.2c over here. And performance-wise, we're doing pretty good. I think a little bit better than even FSR 3.1.5 for some reason. So we are doing pretty good. Yeah, the game looks really, really nice. The image stability is really good, but yet again, we are on native AA. So let's do our thing. We're gonna go with quality and sharpness of 1. I'm gonna apply this. And it seems that the options have taken effect over here. 65, 66 FPS, as you can see over here. We do get a little bit of pixelation around the character's hair, but not as bad as all the other Upscalers. And we do have a pretty nice performance boost. Yeah, and as I move the camera, I don't see any of that instability. So this is pretty good. I don't see any weirdness around the character on quality mode, that is. And remember, this is just by dragging and dropping the binary into our game installation folder. We're not using OptiScaler or anything else yet. So we're basically using FSR inputs. So let's go a little bit more crazy over here. We're gonna go with ultra performance, and then with a sharpness of 5, I'm gonna apply, see how this performs and looks. Okay, so this is pretty good. Performance wise, it's fine. We are getting around 70 FPS, which is not that bad. So we are taking a hit, but even still, this looks really good. Like around the hair, we do get some pixelation, but it's nothing serious. We have a lot of quality retained into all the textures, even when we're moving the camera. And I don't see that image instability when we are actually moving the camera around over here in the distance. So that's some pretty good stuff over here. We're getting 77, 76 FPS over there for a second. So that's pretty good. And let's see what we can do about, let's say, frame generation. We could go over here and enable frame generation, and we have two options: the FSR 3.1.6 frame generation and XeSS frame generation. Both of them just give us the ×2 generated frames, and then we default either to anti-lag 2 or the XeLL. So let's go ahead and try frame generation and see how that goes. I'm gonna apply, hit OK. Yeah, that's not too bad. We don't get any ghosting, and that's 120 FPS over there. 114. The game feels smooth. I don't feel any real latency over here. Everything happens instantly. Okay. let's say native AA and sharpness of 0. See how we're looking. So we're averaging around 50 to 51 FPS, and we're getting double that, as you can see. And yeah, the game looks pretty nice. No weirdness whatsoever. It doesn't feel as smooth, so I would definitely go with quality here. Go back to quality and sharpness of 1. Hit apply. Yeah, this feels much smoother. This is because we're hitting above 60 FPS on average, so the latency, input latency and frame times are a lot better as a baseline for frame generation to work better. So basically, as you saw, that was it. We didn't have to do any setup, no setup script, no config files, no nothing. It just worked immediately. And also, because I want to be real with you guys, we did see on RDNA2, as always, FSR4 int 8 version does add a bit of overhead compared to the lighter Upscalers, and going lower than balanced doesn't really give us a significant FPS bump in this particular game especially. But the visual quality at quality and balanced, it's pretty much night and day compared to PICO or the vanilla FSR or XeSS. Okay, so the standalone binary is great for a quick and clean upgrade, I guess, but if you want the absolute best Death Stranding 2 can offer on AMD, and this is what we usually do on GeekJ, we need OptiScaler itself. And if you're asking why, there are two massive reasons. First, we get to use the DLSS inputs instead of the usually lower quality FSR inputs. And second, we gain access to better frame generation and a latency reduction. And that's the real end game, because we can utilize DLSSG Streamline that the magicians of OptiScaler have composed for us. So yet again, we're gonna go back to OptiScaler's Discord server, and this time we're gonna go to the Opti test builds over here. And if we scroll down over here, you can see the OptiScaler version 0.9.0 pre-12 test build. And if we scroll a little bit further down, you can see the download link right here. I'm gonna navigate to the OptiScaler folder where I save all my OptiScaler related files. And what I like to do for this version, I'm first going to extract the download. As you can see over here, I've already done this step, and it's in its own folder. And here's the key and my way of doing this. We only need the basic OptiScaler files for this game. We already updated our DLSS and XeSS binaries through the DLSS-Swapper, and we already swapped the FSR4.0.2c version binary earlier. So we just need the core OptiScaler components. And this time we're not going to grab the setup windows.bat as well, and we're just going to drag and drop these, holding the right click of our mouse and then copy here. Already had some of the files in there, I'm going to copy over them. And what I would advise you to do this time is to manually do all this stuff. So first of all, I'm going to right click on this, rename it to xgi.dll. I'm gonna leave the extension as it is, and then I'm gonna go over here to OptiScaler INI. So after we open up OptiScaler.ini in our favorite text editor, I like Notepad++. You can use the built-in Notepad. I'm gonna press Ctrl F and I'm gonna search for DXGI. And over here, as you can see, we have some options. We are looking for this option over here, the enable spoofing for NVIDIA GPU. And for the DXGI, instead of auto, I'm going to go with true. And then I'm going to save and close out of this ini file. And now let's go ahead and launch our game again. We're going to get some warnings. Just click OK on all of them. Then go into settings. And now you're going to be able to see we have the DLSS option available to us. what we can do is leave it at native AA and 0 sharpness. I'm going to press OK and then press play. Got our controller connected, and as you can see on the left bottom side, we got the OptiScaler pop-up. That means the OptiScaler has installed correctly. Let's load our game. We are on DLSS, and that's a yes. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to press my insert key on my keyboard. And as you can see, we do get the OptiScaler menu over here popping up, and we do get the DLSS inputs, and we're gonna go with FSR3.x and click on change Upscaler over here. Okay, and as you can see, we can save INI and close, and we are on FSR4 right now. So what is the benefit? So let me show you. Let's go back into the options, and we're gonna go with quality. So we have DLSS quality and then sharpness set to 1. The benefit is now we can actually utilize the DLSS inputs. So if I press insert again, I can untick the use FSR input values, save INI and close. And as you can see, we are now utilizing the DLSS inputs, which are often better in many ways. Not only for the image quality inputs, but also for the frame generation inputs. So DLSS does a much better job. So anyway, we're running in quality. As you can see, this is at around 62 to up to 70 frames per second, maybe sometimes a little bit higher. And what we can do over here is go to frame generation, and we're gonna try and see if DLSSG via Streamline is working, and I'm gonna go with XeSS for this game, and then we're gonna go with the set frame cap over here, and I'm gonna do save INI and close. But before we close, you can see over here in the red letters it says save INI and restart to apply these changes, because right now we do not see any DLSSG or frame generation option over here to activate. And if we go into our game settings and go into options, as you can see over here, the only frame generation options we're going to get are XeSS and FSR 3.1.6. So with that done, we're gonna quit out of the game, and then we're going to relaunch it. Okay, we're gonna go back into the options over here. Some things might be reset, but make sure you select DLSS, set it to quality and the sharpness you want, then DLSS frame generation, and apply. Okay. And as you can see over here, we are using DLSS, right? So if we go into our options, as you can see, DLSS, we're on quality, and then we're using DLSS frame generation. But in the game, as you can see, there is no frame generation going. That is because we need to enable that through OptiScaler. So hit insert on your keyboard, make sure you don't have the FSR input values enabled. You need to have this unchecked. So we need to activate over here the frame generation XeSS. So I'm going to click on active. And as you can see, it says this is on. If you get a message, you need to restart the game once again, then do that. If you don't get the message, then you're good. If it says on over here, you're good to go. Save INI, close. And as you can see, we are utilizing XeSS, and we are on average above 100 FPS, or at least at 100 FPS as our average. And utilizing FSR4. Image stability is a lot better, so make sure you don't skip any of these steps, otherwise FrameGen is not going to apply correctly. So if you get another message after you activate your frame generation to restart once more, just make sure you save your INI and then close, and then you restart your game back up, and everything is going to be running perfectly fine. I know that the restart dance we have to do all the time is kind of annoying, but it's a one-time thing. After you set it up, it's kind of set it and forget it. One thing to mention, the OptiScaler INI, sometimes after you close out of your game, might go back to auto or off for the DXGI spoofing, as you can see over here. So my solution to that was set it back to true, save, go to right-click properties, and I'm gonna set it to read only, apply and OK. So from now on, each time you try to launch the game, you're gonna get the same warning we got before. As you can see over here, Death Stranding 2 on the beach, no installed graphics card has been detected on this PC. You press OK. Your GPU NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090. I don't have a 4090, obviously this is an RX 6800 XT. It says is compatible with the game, but for the best experience we strongly recommend using newer drivers. So anyway, just click on OK and then play. As you can see, we're back into the game. We're gonna go into the options and we are still in DLSS, Upscale, Quality, Sharpness 1, and then a DLSS frame generation is on. And here we are, FSR4 with DLSS inputs running through OptiScaler, frame generation active via DLSSG Streamline, and basically the image quality is leagues ahead of where we started without all that fringing and stuff, and frame generation is a lot smoother because it's again using the DLSSG inputs. So this is basically what Death Stranding 2 should feel like on AMD hardware, and that's my opinion. So to recap, if you want the quick and easy route, just grab the FSR4 binary from the OptiScaler Discord. You can back up your original and just, replace it if you have any issues, and it's a 5-minute massive upgrade. But if you want the full experience with DLSS inputs and frame generation, I think OptiScaler is a must, so you don't need to run the setup, you just edit a single line on the OptiScaler INI and rename a DLL file, and you just have to do the restart dance once or twice, and then you can enjoy the best this game can offer on RDNA2. And yeah, remember, no driver modding required anymore if you want to use FSR4 Int 8 on your RDNA2 graphics card. So huge thanks to the OptiScaler team for making that happen. If this helped you get the smoothest experience out of Death Stranding 2, smash that like button and subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a GeekJ video. If you want to take it further, consider joining the GeekJ squad for early access and exclusive perks, or drop a super thanks if you're feeling generous. Also, massive shout out to my channel architects Partis STR and Kostas Dari, and to my donor Tony. You guys are legends and you keep this channel running. Drop your results in the comments below. What Upscaler are you using? What FPS are you hitting? And what is your hardware setup? I read every single one of your comments. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye.